Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new preseason League of Legends video. In this one, I'll be quickly going over the new Masteries because a lot of people have been asking me to do this. The Masteries have been changed quite significantly, though it is still similar in some respect. The names are absolutely different, so you have one called Resolve, Cunning, and Ferocity. Resolve is currently what is more or less the offensive tree. Ferocity is actually the defensive tree, while Cunning seems to be somewhat of a mix of offensive and utility type masteries. So now I'm going to quickly go through each of them, but before I do, there's one very important thing to notice. You can see that every single tier now only has two options except for the final tier, which is considered to be the extra or the big one. Now the reason this is cool is because you'll see that I cannot put 5 points in just Fury and Sorcery. I can only choose one of the two or mix up 5 points between both of them. So you can see I can go 1 or 2 points here and only 3 points here, but I can't put 5 here and 5 here. It's just impossible. But assuming you choose one of the two, which is, let's say, Fury, you go on to the next tree and now you can only choose one of the two. The first one being Double-Edged Sword, which is one that we're quite familiar with, and the other option being Feast, another one that we're supposed to be very familiar with as well. So after you choose one of these two, so let's say for instance this one, you move on to the next tree as well, and this time you can choose between Vampirism, which gives you 0.4% lifesteal and Spellvamp per point, which at 5 points will give you 2% of each, or you can go to Natural Talent, which at 5 points will end up giving you plus 10 attack damage, 15 ability power at level 18. The next tree has something called Bounty Hunter, which is either you get 1% increased damage for each unique champion that you kill, so probably capping at 5% naturally, or the other option, Oppressor, you deal 2.5 increased damage to targets with an impaired movement, so maybe like a slow, stun, snare, or taunt. Moving down the line in the Resolve tree, we have Battering Blows and Piercing Thought, so you either get armor penetration 7% or you get 7% of magic penetration. And the final talent in this tree and in every tree are the most interesting ones because they have the most impact. The first of which being Warlord's Bloodlust. 1 point in this will give your critical strikes a 15% heal of the damage that you deal, while also granting you 20% increased attack speed. The next one is Fervor of Battle, where your basic attacks and spells grant you a stack of Fervor for 5 seconds, maximum 10. Each stack will grant you 1 to 8 bonus physical damage to your basic attacks against champions based on your level. And the final one, Deathfire Touch. Your damaging abilities cause enemy champions to take 6 plus 50% of your bonus attack damage and 20% of your ability power in magic damage over 3 seconds. So you can see that these masteries are very huge in terms of how much impact it will have, especially the last one. One thing I want to point out is something like Warlord's Bloodlust on someone like Yasuo could be very strong. Let's move into the Cunning tree, which is going to be the tree that has a mix of utility and offensive type masteries. So the first one, you have options between Wanderer and Savagery, so either of course 5 points in this, granting you 3% move speed out of combat, or 5 points in Savagery, which will grant your basic attacks and single target spells to deal 5 bonus damage to minions and monsters. Next we have Rune Affinity, which increases the duration of buffs you have from monsters, or the Secret Stash, which is the same thing as the Biscuit, and also increasing the duration of flasks, potions, and elixirs on yourself. The next one has Merciless, which is what I say is kind of a mix between utility and offensive, because this one does increase damage to champions below 40% HP, which is something we're familiar with. The other option is Meditation, where at 5 points every 5 seconds you will get 1.5% of your missing mana. Moving down the line, we have Bandit, again another similar talent, gaining 1 gold for each nearby minion killed by an allied champion, gain an additional 3 gold or 10 if you're melee when hitting an enemy champion with an attack or a spell. And the other option is Dangerous Game, champion kills and assists, restore 5% of your missing health and mana. Another example of why I say that this tree is a mix of utility and offensive masteries. Moving down, the next tier is Precision at 5 points, giving you 3 plus 0.3 per level armor and magic penetration, so flat magic and armor penetration, pretty cool to have. And the other option, Intelligence, your cooldown reduction cap is increased by 5% at rank 5, and you also get 5% cooldown. And now moving to the final ones, again choosing one of the 3 of the really important and game-changing talents, the first one being Storm Raider Surge. Dealing 30% of a champion's maximum HP within 2 seconds will give you 35% increased move speed for 3 seconds. The other options, Thunderlord's Decree. Your third attack or spell on an enemy champion shocks the area at random, dealing 10 damage per level plus 20% of your bonus AD and 10% of your AP as magic damage in an AoE fashion with a 30-second cooldown. And the final one, Wind Speaker's Blessing. Your heals and shields are 10% stronger. Additionally, your shields and heals increase your target's resistances by 15% for 3 seconds when used on an ally other than yourself. And finally, moving into the last tree called Ferocity, which is more or less the defensive tree that we currently know and love. You'll have two options at the beginning like every other tree. The first one being Recovery. At 5 points, you'll get 0.20 health regeneration per 5 seconds. And the other option, Unyielding. At 5 ranks, you will get plus 6% bonus MR and armor. Moving down in the line, we have Explorer, only 1 point here, plus 12 move speed when in the brush or river, which is a very interesting talent. The other option is Tough Skin. You take 2 less damage from champions and monster basic attacks. Again, a very familiar trait. Moving down in the line once again, however, we have Runic Armor at 5 points, plus 8% bonus to all shields and healing on you, which includes lifesteal regeneration. And the other option is increase of 4% total HP. Moving down the line once again, inside 1 point only, your summoner spells have 15% reduced cooldown, which is pretty sweet. And the other option, Perseverance, plus 50% health regeneration, increased to plus 200% when below 20% HP. Moving down the line again, Swiftness 5 points, plus 15% tenacity and slow resistance, again, very familiar. And the other option, Legendary Guardian, another familiar trait, 5 out of 5 points, plus 3 armor and MR for each nearby enemy champion. But let's take a look at the big talents in the defensive, or in this case, Ferocity tree. The first one being Grasp of the Undying. Every 4 seconds in combat, your next attack against an enemy champion steals life equal to 3% of your max HP, halved for ranged champions. Then we have Strength of the Ages. Large monsters and siege minions that you or nearby allies kill grant you 25 and 10 permanent health respectively, at a max of 300. After reaching the max bonus, further siege minion kills will restore 100 HP. And the final one, Bond of Stone, plus 4% damage reduction. While near an ally, this bonus is doubled and 8% of the damage they would take from champions is dealt to you instead, but this cannot reduce you below 15% HP. And in case you're wondering how an example page could look like, well, this is the page I have when I used Yasuo on the PBE. So I have 5 out of 5 in Fury, 1 point in Double-Edged Sword, 1 point, or 5 points rather, in Natural Talent, 1 in Bounty Hunter, 5 out of 5 in Battering Blows, and then the final one in Warlord's Bloodlust. The remaining 12 points I decided to put in the Cunning tree for Savagery, Secret Stash, Merciless, and finally Dangerous Game. So there's an example of how it can potentially look like. So there you have it, guys, the new masteries that will be hitting the live servers whenever Riot finally deems them worthy. If you did enjoy this or learn something new, make sure to hit that like button as it helps me quite a bit. Check out the other preseason videos I have on my channel, and I hope to see you for the next one. Peace.